Everybody, welcome back to the Tearing It Up podcast. Today is going to be fun because I've got 3 guests with me. So it's been a while since we've done a podcast where we had more than one guest, and I love getting different perspectives from everybody, and I think that the energy can just be different when there's more of us involved. It's always different when we're all in person too, but hey, I don't care. I love the more the merrier, and I think that it's great whether it's virtual or in person. Um, it's also kinda interesting, I haven't had a lot of conversations this season about skiing, snowboarding, really winter, because it doesn't feel like it ever really hit us here in the West completely. It felt like we got teased all year long with winter, had some storms, and then it'd be, like, spring again. So, looking back, I'm like, "Wow, it's March now, and I'm finally, like, really talking to some snowboarders and winter athletes." So, it's, maybe not the most timely, but what they're doing, I don't think it has an expiration date of any kind. You can follow along the whole time. They're doing really awesome things. And funny enough, too, this is my second Alenka on the podcast. So well, I've
Wow.
got Alenka, Irie, and EC with me here. And we're going to be talking about a film project they're doing and some other great stuff they're doing out in the world. So we're going to start with you, Alenka. Where are you in the world physically as we record today?
I'm in Pemberton, BC.
Awesome. And how is the snow looking right now for you?
Really good.
Oh, yes, okay.
We
I
just
lo
got a beautiful reset that we've been waiting for pretty much the whole season.
Yeah, I heard, a couple weeks ago, I think it was, like, starting to trend towards not looking as great as maybe it was, and it's all changed. It's been like a roller coaster for you all too, and there's been plenty of times that we're like, "Okay, do we go to Canada now?" And then all of a sudden it wouldn't be good, and we'd be, getting some snow here, and now it's, like, back to, "Do we go?" But I don't think we'll make it in time. And EC and Irie, you 2 are together, so Irie, where or whoever wants to, tell us where you guys are at today.
We're in Squamish right now, so we're only like an hour south of Pemberton, and it's not snowing right now. It's raining.
Oh, wow, okay, yeah, so it's funny when you're not from a place and really don't know the geography very well to think like, "Wow, it's that different." It
Totally.
doesn't I mean, that happens here just where I'm at in Truckee, California. The elevation differences of, like, being in town versus some of the neighborhoods or where I live is at 7,300 feet, so it could be snowing here and raining in town, and it's just, like, wild to think that, like, wow, we're 5 miles away and the weather is vastly different.
Totally. Yeah.
Well, girls, I'm stoked to get to talk to you. And so, actually, those of you who have followed along a while too and know that I've done work with alpinistas, I was introduced to Alenka through alpinistas when we were putting together a film fest last year, and we showed one of her videos.
The film that you guys showed at Alpinistas Fest was a film documenting my snowboard base jumping progression.
I'm staring at I have your Instagram up, and I see a photo of you in your snowboard and parachute over there's a giant body of water beneath you, and I'm like, "What is this sport?" in my mind. But, yeah, incredible, incredible stuff. So you're out there doing all sorts of type 2 fun. Irie, EC, what about you gals? What are you do you guys base jump with your snowboards too? And first of all, do you both snowboard?
Yeah, we both snowboard. I definitely am not hucking myself off things like it is.
Awesome.
And yeah, I'm a snowboarder. I just got to Canada though. I was in Europe for 2 months. I'm kind of like a competitive athlete in the last year. So I was doing my first world championship, and I came all the way to Canada for the premiere and to spend time with these beautiful girls. So yeah, the
Amazing.
winter is not looking as good as it was in Europe, but it doesn't matter. We always say like snowboarding, but snow makes you a good snowboarder. So
Mhm.
we're here for the
Absolutely.
joy.
Yes, yes, and we have to remember that as winter enthusiasts, we have to take what we can get, right? So you have to have fun and find fun in it in some other ways sometimes and just take those sunny groomer days or whatever, even if we don't, like it as much or whatever. I'm interested though how all three of you got connected.
About a year and a half ago, I started thinking about this all woman expedition and then possibly turning it into a film project. And I knew Izzy from competitions. We met competing both in South America and North America. Then I kind of eased out of there. And I knew Irie through some friends, but not very well. Like I kind of knew both of them, but not on the level that we know each other now. And I hit them both up with the idea, and they were both like, oh my God, let's do this. And I will never forget our first day snowboarding together. We just like instantly clicked. We had like really good chemistry from the beginning, filming or not filming. Very good relationship in the mountains, which is not always the case,
Mhm.
and that makes you appreciate it even more. So I'm very grateful to call these ladies my friends now.
That's awesome, and you're so right where you don't ever really know how it's gonna go when you're kinda, like, cold outreaching to somebody, right? Of like,
Yeah.
"Alright, I have this feeling, and I'm gonna try it, but once we get together, is it really gonna work?" 'Cause especially when it's in the mountains and not just, like, we're hanging out and gonna go to the movies or like, do whatever, like, you are in an environment where you really have to know and trust and like your the partners, get along, or at least it helps a lot to have good chemistry with the people that you're out there with doing these, like, adventurous, not just, like, at the resort things, right?
Yeah, for sure. And you never really know how it's gonna go until you like throw yourself in that situation 100%. And yeah, it either works or not. There's nothing in between usually.
Exactly, and you have experience with throwing yourself, as we mentioned, just hucking off cliffs and flying on down. So, for you and Lenka, is this your second or what how many film projects have you done before this? Obviously, we know you've done the one.
And this is my second film so far, officially. Now I can say that I make films with an S.
Yes,
We
awesome.
were joking about that the other day.
I love
um,
it.
Second movie, I really enjoy the process, although it's a lot of work. It takes up um an insane amount of my free time. But it becomes worth it when we have the event like we did in Whistler last week, when 200 people show up and
Wow.
to support us and to see what we have been up to and to be part of it and to share that story with them. That's when all the hard work makes it worth it.
That's so cool, and how about you, Issy and Irie? Irie, we'll start with you. Have you done any other films, whether it was just being in a film or being behind the scenes, or is this a first for you?
Yeah, so this was the second that I've been in. I was in one when I was 18, I think. Called Our Fabric, and it was like a 5-part series. It wasn't as much snowboarding, mostly about like environmental stuff, but
Oh.
this was like a first kind of real being involved and like being in the film properly, I would say.
That's super cool, and I'll have to hear more about that film, The Fabric, or at least we'll link it because a lot of our audience here, I mean, is really immersed in the outdoors in some way, whether it's like working in the industry or just being active outside, hiking, running, snowboarding, skiing, whatever it is, and care a lot about sustainability and whatnot. And so it sounds like there's a connection there between all that. A lot of folks listening might be interested in. So we'll be sure to note that for sure if we don't get back to talking more specifically about it. But
Yeah,
Issy, how
please.
about you for film wise?
Well, I've been in a couple films that haven't been organized or like directed by me. in Chile, because I'm all the way from South America, from Chile. And a couple of years ago, like 10 years ago, I started my Chasing Winters project, which was I was the director. I was like kind of like almost everything. I had some editor, but it was a really low budget homemade stuff. But it's still super fun. Like people used to like it a lot. I was like doing premieres in Chile, like big events. But it's funny because nowadays I compare what it takes with that, and it's like I'm growing up. So it was super fun and interesting to like be part of a really nice piece of project, like with really good quality and with such a good like deep content, as such an amazing director. Kind of like that was like a big step for me, just like another step, you know.
Yeah, yeah, that's really cool. How, has it been for you guys with okay, so I'm a little bit older than you guys. Are you guys all in your 20s still? Or, like, early-ish 20s?
I'm on the 31.
31, okay, 31, and what about you, Irene and Alenka?
I'm
I'm
24.
and I'm 26.
Okay, and the only reason I ask is because or talk about it is I just think it's so cool to see more women taking up space, and the first all women's like ski film out there, was Lindsay Dyer and Pretty Faces. And then the snowboarders came along, like Leanne Pelosi, Hannah Beeman, and Robin, and all these other gals whose names are at the tip of my tongue, and I just can't remember who was all in the film right now, but I was obsessed with that film when it came out. I was on a boat in Alaska while like streaming it, watching it live, and so the first all-female snowboard movie, this was just like 10, 12 years ago, and, when I was, like, in my mid-early 20s, and wild to think about it took that long, right? But it's still few and far between, really, that you still see women having parts and whatnot, but not as fully produced, directed by, all women in, and all of that. Have you guys found it to be difficult at all trying to, like, break into the, I guess, film premiere scene or anything like that, or getting taken seriously, finding people to work with you on the project, whether that's videographers or anything like that? Have you felt that as women, it's still been difficult at all, or do you think that landscape has changed?
Um, I think it has been quite easy for us. I have not seen any barriers with this movie or experienced any barriers with this movie because we're female,
Mhm.
because we're women, you know? Um, Everybody that I chatted with before we started doing this project thought it was awesome, and I got some really good feedback. Of course, the biggest thing that we have struggled with is to find proper funding
Mhm.
to pay people that worked with us what they deserve, and not just like super minimum or no paycheck at all, you know? And I'm always like a big fan of like, well, if there's no space for what you do or no opportunity for what you want to do, then you have to create it yourself. You know, okay, maybe nobody will invite us to film with them. We need to make our own film. Nobody would invite us to be part of the premiere. We have to organize our own. That's always a possibility. Of course, it's much harder, but if you have the strong will and some free time and a good work ethic, I think anything is possible.
Oh, that's so great and so true, and, like, the landscape definitely has changed as far as people I guess being welcoming of more women doing the thing, but, like, more importantly, what you said is if you're not being invited, you have to just make the space, right? And that's what this podcast and the mission of, like, Tearing It Up is all about, is, like, taking up that space, making that space, and helping amplify it wherever it is, and funding has always been the biggest part of films and how to fund them and pay the people and all of those things. What was that like for you guys to what was that journey like in funding it and getting it even going from you've decided, "Okay, we're gonna make this film." What was the next step in that? Like, obviously, you got to know each other, you learned you clicked, like, "We're gonna do this." Then what happens?
It
So
was yeah, I mean, I like you can speak, but mostly just, like, emailing every single person that we could possibly think of who wanted to who had something that had anything to do with being outside. So, like, all of our own sponsors that, we could get emails from other people. Maybe Alenka can speak more on it, but it's like emails, just trying to convince people that they did have the budget to support something, even if it was like $50 or a pair of boots or
yeah, and at the end of the day, the most doors you're knocking, the most doors that they can be open. So
Yeah.
that's what I learned, and I think that was I think we were talking about that with Alenka once. I was kind of like, sometimes it's frustrating that you get a lot of no's, but if you're getting a lot of a lot of no's, it's because you're trying hard and because you're knocking on so many doors. So it's a good thing to have a lot of no's because means that you might get some yes.
1000%. The more doors you're knocking on, the more that are gonna open, right? And we've said this over and over on the podcast too about how many, no's you might get versus that one yes, but that's the one that could make all the difference. But you just can't be afraid to like ask and take the risk and whatnot. Before we dive into a little bit more about like exactly what the film project was all about, what you guys were doing with it, trying to do with it, and where and when people will be able to find it, all that fun stuff. I want to talk a little bit more about you as individual athletes and kind of where it all started from you. It doesn't have to be the huge long story, whatever important parts of that story that you want to share that you feel like really shaped it all and will get people to kind of understand where you came from and how you got to where you are. If you wanna start it off, Alinka.
where. Um, where did it all start? Hard to say. I think I started snowboarding when I moved to Canada 10 years ago, and I fell in love with the sport. It came into my life at a very, very crucial part of my life that was full of insecurities, doubt, anger, and it pulled me out of that dark space, so to speak. Um, so I'm deeply connected to snowboarding in that emotional sense of what it did to me and in my life. Um, and then I think naturally it progressed into writing with a bunch of like really nice people in Whistler and slowly progressing into like the world of competitions, first racing and then free ride. And then just more and more of backcountry, which is where my heart is these days. I'm very inspired by doing something new that challenges me, having goals and working hard to achieve them. I really enjoy that process. And it's been taking me to so many wonderful places, and one of them is Patagonia, which has been really good. I spent a lot of time in Patagonia when I was a kid, and it's nice to now go there on my own terms, on my own reasons, and on my own expedition, and not my parents' expeditions. Um, so yeah, just very grateful to where the sport brought me in terms of places and people that I get to hang out with.
That's incredible. Did you go on these expeditions and things with your parents, like, from that young age? Were they big backcountry skiers or snowboarders themselves?
Yeah, my parents were climbers, so
Oh, okay.
they were alpinists, you could say. They climbed mountains. They still do a little less these days. And yeah, they did not have tons of money to afford nannies, so a lot of times we just went up to base camps with them.
Wow. So that kind of adventurous spirit was pretty instilled in you from a young age that you were able to just, like, morph as you got into snowboarding and turn that adventurous side into, and like I said, when you found the backcountry and fell in love, it seems like that's where it all kind of took shape and the connection was made for exploration in a avenue that you enjoyed. Instead of the climbing alpinism, it was more snowboard or backcountry travel focused, or winter backcountry travel focused, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. And then as much as I try to go away from that climbing world, it's been kind of pulling me back in the last couple of years and becoming my second focus. Um, so yeah, I would say both climbing and snowboarding are a huge part of me, thanks to my parents. I would just say that feeling of being in the mountains, no matter what your medium is. But climbing has a lot to do with snowboarding because you always need to get up to get down,
Yeah.
and when you start to like go into more technical lines, it involves a lot of climbing and a lot of rope work. So I think they go hand in hand a little bit.
Absolutely, absolutely. Irie, what about you? Where did, like, snowboarding come into your life?
Good question. I grew up in Whistler. I started snowboarding when I was 4, so I've been snowboarding 20 years now, which is crazy to think.
Yeah.
Long time. But when I was a kid, I had a really bad anxiety disorder, and so I quit snowboarding altogether for quite a while. Um, just because the wind and it scared me, and even powder. I hated riding powder; it terrified me.
Mhm.
And so I put a lot of work into really getting those anxieties under control because I knew I loved to be outside. And eventually one day I was on the chairlift with my mom, super, super windy, and she was like, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm fine. Why?" And she was like, "It's windy." And I was like, "Oh, I didn't even notice." So um, and then when I was 18 for that film I was talking about fabric, I got my first split board, which Marie France gave to me.
Ah,
She was in Full Moon, and she's
wow.
been one of the best mentors I could have ever dreamed of in backcountry, and I basically revolved my entire life around that split board. I'm a tail guide at a cat ski operation now, so just really, really that changed the course of my life for sure. And so grateful for that moment because, yeah, she didn't have to give some random kid her split board, and she did.
That's so incredible. I'm sure you still have it then as a that always be a piece of you kind of thing.
I wish I actually gave it away because I was like, surely I have to give this to someone else.
Okay, I love that even more. That actually makes way more sense than holding on to it, and, like, you've gotten what you needed from it, and now pass that torch on to hopefully do that same thing. It's like the sisterhood of the traveling splitboard.
Exactly, exactly.
That's really cool that you got it from Marie France. How did that come about that she gifted that to you?
So in Fabric, there was 5 episodes. There was like one was community, ours was sustainability, and then there was 3 other ones which I can't remember the name of. And her and I were both in the sustainability episode. And so I got to go out with her a couple days, and she's just the most amazing person ever. She's so kind and so generous and just loves being in the mountains and um, yeah, and I was starstruck and just was like, "Oh my god." But, she's just the most chill, amazing person, so, yeah.
Well, you were obviously in that film for a reason too, which means that, like, there was probably some similar connections there. Someone saw something in you that struck the same chord with them. Can you tell us a little bit about how that film project did come about? How you got involved in it?
Yeah, so, I had been doing a project, a zero waste project, for school where all of the garbage that I collected or used throughout the year, so, like, receipts, candy bar wrappers, all that kinda stuff had to fit into a 500 milliliter jar. Um
and I was allowed to compost and recycle certain things, but everything else had to fit into the jar. And I
Wow.
ended up doing it for like 3 years straight, I think, even after school, but that's basically they were like, "Oh, you care about the environment and you snowboard, that checks both boxes." So that's so cool.
Wow, yeah, that is so cool, especially at your age, just, like, being in high school and maybe, I'm pretty far removed from that part of my life, and I also grew up in a big city where it was, I mean, you talked about recycling in that day and age, but it was just a different conversation, especially when you weren't so in an, like, outdoorsy area, and so I like to think, again, it might just be because now I am in a bubble of outdoor industry where the conversation happens a lot more, but I do hope to believe that it's the narrative's changing overall, and it is reaching more people in cities and bigger areas and whatnot, but whenever you see, I think, a kid in high school taking kind of initiative or doing a big project like that is always inspiring and awesome, and to hear that you continued to do that for, years after, then again, I get that feeling that this is something that's really instilled into you into your an everyday life, now as much as it can be outside of snowboarding and being a tail guide. What else do you do?
Good question. In the spring and the fall and a bit of the summer, I do hike guiding and mountain bike coaching. So basically, that's just very my life revolves around being outside and keeping my life simple and just enjoying what amazing nature we get to surround ourselves with and to see the sky. We're so lucky. So and then taking time off on days to chill and journal and paint or whatever comes up, but listening to my body when I need, but
That's incredible. I love it. And while being a guide, you're in a position where you can hopefully teach some others, The people that come and do trips with you, are they pretty experienced in those sports, or do you talk with a mix of people who maybe are like, first time mountain bikers or not too familiar with, getting out and about? Or is it a range?
yeah, it's a total range. In the winter, the cat skiing, there's a lot of people who've been coming for years, which is really cool. In the summer, I get a lot of beginner mountain bikers. With hike guiding, I work for a school, so sometimes, and so you'll get like exchange students who are 16 years old and have never been camping, but they're
Wow.
so stoked and they're going on a hiking trip on the West Coast for the first time, and it's wet and it's pouring and they've burnt their food, but they're like, "This is awesome." And it's just such a good reminder of, like, why
Mhm.
I fell in love with it, and, so, yeah, there's a range for sure, but every single person you meet and get on trips teaches you something different, which is cool.
Yeah, it's awesome to, you are obviously teaching them a lot, and I'm sure you get to share a lot about just taking care of your body or being outdoors and practices and things like that. So getting to teach people all those things. But I was a guide in different capacities as well, and it
Oh,
was like a nice reminder sometimes, like, oh yeah, like I get to do this every day, it's not a big deal, and then when you have people who are, like, experiencing it for the first time, it just reminds you of those small things in life that you sometimes take for granted, and "Oh, yeah, this is actually pretty amazing," and not everyone gets to do this often, but we do have to actively remind ourselves of that, especially when we're working. I'm sure there's the moments where it's like, you feel like, okay, I've said this a million times, or I've done this trail a million times, and, like, we gotta remember, like, nope, this is still awesome and something that not everyone gets to do often,
totally.
if at all.
Yeah, and even things like climate change I found is such a privilege to care about.
Yeah.
Because why would you care about a glacier if you've never seen one?
Ugh,
Or care about the ocean if you've never seen it? It's like such a privilege to be able to go out and see these things and be like, "I've seen this, so I care about it."
yeah. What a good perspective, and I think, honestly, I mean, for me, that hit for sure, like, wow, yeah, I don't think I've really framed it that way when I think about why people don't care about this or that, and it's like, Oh, yeah, their experience isn't the same as mine, so why would they? Um, you think that something like climate change hits home for everybody, but it definitely doesn't if they don't enjoy the outdoors in the same ways that you do. I love that perspective a lot. Issy, what about you? Tell us about your path into snowboarding and getting into this competitive side, and are you on the Freeride World Tour? Okay.
Um, yeah, so this year was the first free world championship because freeride is becoming an Olympic sport. So this was like a big event, kind of like the free world tour is like a private event. This was more like an institutional, if you can say,
Oh,
for the
okay.
for the free like how you say international free skier. So it's kind of like it's like a next step for the, like more like a institutional thing. Well, and going back to your question, well, I was lucky that I started skiing when I was 3 year old. My parents, they both ski and they taught me how to ski. And then when I was 15, I was ready to try something else. I was like, snowboarding was really drawing my attention. And as soon as I got in my board, like I learned by myself, I never got back to skis unless it's for teaching because I'm a snowboard and ski instructor still. But yes, as soon as when I was 15 and I switched to snowboard, I started improving and improving even more. And I come from a big city, it's like a 9 million people city,
Wow.
Santiago, which is the capital of Chile. So I was always like living in a big city and watching the crowds and traffic and the crazy things that describe a city. But we have the mountains so close. The Andes Mountains were so close from home, like 35 kilometers away an hour, and you could make it to the ski resorts. So then I was going every time there. And then when I was like finished the school, I started studying journalism, which was asking me to still be in the city, but just to study 1 year to realize that I didn't want to finish it. And that's when I went all the way hiking to Patagonia for 8 days, like backpacking. And that's when I fell in love with the national park that I work at because I'm a hiking guide as well. So then yeah, as soon as I got there, I realized that I was studying like the wrong career, and I switched to ecotourism when I was 19. So then I followed my path, which is like being in the mountain as my office, but as my passion as well. So every time I would be working, I would be in the mountain, but on my days off, I do the same as when I'm working, just like putting a little bit more of spicy stuff. So yeah, similar as Alenka and Nairi, like I love rock climbing, I love split boarding, and just like all of these type 2 fun or like getting out of the comfort zone constantly makes you be so present.
Mhm.
There's no room for thinking about what's going next or what happened yesterday or what happened last week. So then it's like it just keeps your mind and your spirit like clean and
Mm.
and wanting more and just like vibrating high for being alive because you're connected to yourself. So I feel like that's what got me here. Like I'm 31 and I'm still like the last 10 years been just like pursuing my snowboarder dream and my mountaineer dream and just like crossing path with amazing people. And then about the competition side, I feel like it really developed me as a better human being in terms of like overcoming my all kinds of like I don't know, like how you say when you're scared, like sorry, it's
Your
like
fear? Yeah.
your fears, thank you, or like insecurities or everything that makes you feel like not good. The
Mhm.
competitions just show it, and then it's like, okay, I need to overcome this, and I need to like I want to feel good, but and when you feel good, you are good with the other people. So I feel like the competition is getting me like, of course, it's making me a better snowboarder, but more than that, it's making me more conscious about my body and others people relationships because everything it's in one. Like if you don't have a good relationship with the people around you, you're not gonna snowboard well because for the three of us, and I'm sure I can talk for the three of us, snowboarding is a way to show like how your inner energy is and how you wanna express yourself, which is totally like we want to feel freedom when we express, and that's why we do free ride. Otherwise, we would be doing probably park terrain or like slopestyle or racing and border cross. But we go to the mountain, which is like just wide open, and we draw our own line. And I feel like that has a lot of being a free rider is a lot like that, like doing your own path, no
Yeah.
matter what it's the way to do it. There's room for everyone. So I feel like that's kind of like a little bit of my vision.
Well, and again, that's another huge part of what this podcast is about is carving your own path. No pun intended. That is what you ladies are doing right out there on the mountain, drawing your own lines, like artistic, creative in an entirely different way that not everyone understands completely, or maybe I'm sure they understand it in their own ways, but they express it differently. Like this is your way of expressing it, expressing yourself, and it's just incredible when you're doing it, like, in the mountains that have their own power, right? Again, another great perspective of what you mentioned with getting outside your comfort zone. I just had this conversation actually before I got on here with you gals, but this podcast will be out before, but with the getting out of your comfort zone and how it is something we need to kind of continuously do, or I think people should do more often in life, but we go through phases where we're not doing that. We get a little stagnant and for whatever reason it is, a phase in life or whatnot, or maybe you just haven't been exposed to ways of getting outside of your comfort zone. But what I was thinking of recently is feeling myself like being a little stagnant, not really getting outside of my comfort zone lately in a big way. And what has given me a different view with what you said was being more present and how you just have no choice but to be present than when you're outside of your comfort zone. I mean, I guess I can think about it with snowmobiling, and that's still a sport that I am learning in and getting better at. And when I'm snowmobiling, I think I get so exhausted, not just physically, but mentally, because I had to be like on it and prepared and like present, right? But while it's exhausting, it's also like, weirdly freeing because you weren't everything else fell by the wayside, so when you're done, you're like, "Oh, yeah, I just don't really care about that other problem I had this morning," right? I was able to kind of, like, wash it away and realize that there were other things that are more deserving of my time, right? And obviously, we don't always have that privilege with some things, but if you can shut it off for a minute, that's that's always great. But getting into the film itself and what your mission was or what it was all about, I know it's not available for everybody yet, but tell us what you can about the whole kind of premise behind the film and what it took for you guys to actually put it together.
We wanted to put like an all woman snowboard film together with a bit of a expedition objective in it, not just a normal snowboarding film with like just going out to the backcountry and film without much of a story. Um, we wanted to showcase, basically, as the title says, what it takes to do these big missions, what it takes to go on an expedition, and all aspects of it. You know, we're three healthy female athletes. We get periods, we get injured, we have self doubt. It's all very common, you know, and it's something that nobody really talks about. So when you're talking about filming for a month in Canada and filming for a month down in Patagonia and like constant days on snow and you have a schedule that you need to maintain and your natural period cycle sometimes does not align with that schedule, if that makes sense.
Yep.
Then you just gotta, yeah, you have to go with it and hope for the best, you know? But then when you don't feel like pushing yourself, you need to speak up and hopefully have a team that surrounds you who understands what you're speaking up. And that's what we wanted to showcase. Basically, the reality behind everything, not just the objective and the good stuff and the polished writing video. Um, and of course, there's that too.
It's not just, like you said, showing the pretty sides of here's the amazing clips of us riding down this or showing some of the hardships of a hard line and climbing and getting to it, but really the whole behind the scenes of what it all looks like, a diary of every piece of it.
Yeah, 100. I think it's very empowering for women of all age to see that and to realize that it's possible and it's okay to push yourself. And it's possible to do hard things. You just need
And
a team
also,
behind.
yeah, and I feel like nowadays with social media and all of that, we as athletes in general, girls and guys, we are like seen like superheroes,
Mhm.
like that we have like a perfect life, or that everything we do it's kind of like easy and just like perfect. And I feel like this movie really shows that it's not,
Mm,
shows that we cry, that we have fear, that things don't go wrong. The only difference, I mean, don't go always perfect, like they go wrong. The only difference in between us and the people that it's, let's say, I don't know, like doing something in their lives that they don't like, or like working in something that they, the only difference is that we are trying hard one and over and over and over. So I feel like that's why like this film, thanks to Alenka as well and how she put it all together, this is why it's inspiring, because it's like I was in the same spot that you were. Like I was a rookie at first. I was a beginner and we just kept pushing. So I feel like to make people realize that, I feel like sometimes nowadays social media just makes it like fakes it.
mhm.
And but when you come with a film like this, it's like actually, wow, it's good to feel that everyone like have hard moments, so then you don't feel like your life is shitty. It's like everyone's life is shitty once in a while,
Yeah,
and
you're
it's good to have.
human, right? You are all human too, and you go through different things, and of course, if being at different levels of athletics or whatever, your hard is gonna look different, right? But you've progressed from what hard was like in the beginning, and things haven't gotten easier. It's like this quote that's in my gym, and it's everywhere, that it's like, "It doesn't get easier, you just get stronger." And so, same thing, like, you yeah, your objectives look different than when they did when you started, but it's not necessarily easier, it has different challenges, and when you're watching people in your position who like well, yeah, you make it look easy. When you're watching professional athletes, like, things look easy, right? And then you're like, "Oh, wait, no, it's still hard for them," or they're still dealing with this and that, and showing the human side of it because you're 1000% right with social media. It's getting, I think, again, a little better, where people are showing more of that difficult side or being more vulnerable on there. It's not as perfectly polished as it was when it kind of first came about and you're only showing this or that. However, majority is still that way where you're still just on there scrolling and seeing what looks like the perfect polished version of whatever someone else's life is. And in that moment as the viewer, you're like, "Oh, like, lucky for them. Like, they're just out here doing this or that," and it's like, "Well, I'm sorry, but I don't wanna be crying every day on my social media." I'll talk about the hard times, but of course, then you don't wanna see only the hard times either. So, it is an interesting, like, paradox, and 'cause I think people are maybe having an easier time reminding themselves of that, but the more we can show that real raw side of things, I think just helps people connect with us more and realize that they're human, you're human, we're all human and go through shit. And also, with a project like this, most importantly, I think, is inspiring other women out there to know that, oh yeah, they can do this. They are dealing with all of these things too. I can't let that stop me. And it's only going to create more resources and accessibility for others to go out there and chase these like ideas and adventures and things as well.
Yeah.
So
Totally.
I'm
I agree.
also curious, Alenka, how this really formed for you. Like, why did you feel like this was the project and like why you wanted to really get it out there into the world?
When I'm feeling down and I have one of those days when I'm like, God, just like motivation's down, the fire inside is burning, but it's burning low, and I need a bit of inspiration, I usually go on Red Bull TV or YouTube and I watch like ski movies or snowboard movies. Um, and I remember about 2 years ago, I was like actively trying to find like a all female snowboard movie. And there's some out there, and of course the one and only that pops into everybody's head is the full moon that you were referring to, and I
Mhm.
think they're on filming part 2 right now from what I hear. Um, but apart from that, I just like nothing was really like standing out, and I was like, wow, that is really I cannot believe it's 2025 or 2024 and there's no female snowboarding movies out there. How is that possible? You know, I guess like nobody's prioritizing that.
Mhm.
Because there's a lot of really talented writers, backcountry or not backcountry, you know. Um, so probably that was subconsciously one of the reasons why I wanted to do this or try to do a all woman snowboard movie is because well somebody out there needs somebody to look up to
Mhm.
just as much as we do, just as much as we did when we were 16 or 15 and we wanted that inspiration. Um, it is really empowering if that somebody that you're looking up to is a woman versus a guy. You know, I was watching Thorstein Hormo's video parts and his movies when I was 16, and it was awesome, and it inspired me to pursue this lifestyle. But it would have been so much different to have a woman snowboarder to look up to like that. And I think the younger generations are gonna have that chance.
Absolutely, representation really does matter because we can get inspired by watching people who, don't, like, look like us or aren't like us, but it does make a huge difference when you see yourself in that person that you're watching. It's and again, so a conversation I had recently too, which will be after this, is a lot about that representation and how important it still is. Like, as women, we are taking up more space in a lot of these industries and things, but it's still nowhere near enough. And we have to keep doing it. Like I said, like there's a big gap between like Full Moon and Pretty Faces when they came out and what's happening, and things are still happening. There's women out there making films or doing the thing, but not in this capacity that you would think that over the last 10 years that maybe it has been. There's still, like I said, big gaps there. So we have to keep showing up and going for it. And like so much like kudos to you for having this idea, reaching out to these other girls and saying, I want to do this and I'm gonna do it. And like I said, having that drive and initiative to say, I'm gonna take up the space, and if it's not there, if it doesn't exist, I'm gonna create it. A lot more of us, need to have that mentality and kind of fearlessness, I guess, but or have people in their lives that have it and push it. So it sounds like you all together are those people in your own lives and circles. Like, so forces combined, like just incredible. But like I said, on your own and in your own worlds, that person who can help push people to keep taking up space as well as taking up your own space and being in a age span of mid 20s into early 30s. I love seeing it and inspiring the gals your age, older, younger, all of it. It doesn't matter what our age is. We can still inspire each other to continue doing these things and getting out there and showing the real side of what it's like to get out there. Because, like I said, whether you're, you know, teenager, 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, we've all been through the things or going through the things still, that it's a reminder of, like, we do share this thing called womanhood and we could get out there and be adventurous. Biggest point here is taking up that space by doing whatever it takes to get there, right?
Yeah, and I think like if I can add something about all these process of like filming a movie together, I feel like it really proved us that when you want something, you can make it happen, because the three of us work in different places. We are like, Argentina spends the half of the year like in Argentina, and some in Europe and Spanish. And then Iris spends time so like all around as well, in Canada, here and there. And I spend a lot of time in South America. So it's like we all work in different stuff and have different projects. And for us to give the time this month and then this other month all the way in South America, and not knowing if there was going to be enough snow, and we were having all these things in the middle. So I feel like it really showed us that if you want to do something and commit to something, you can do it if you have
Mhm.
all the desire. And even there's like walls that you have to climb
Very.
trust, you know. Yeah.
Absolutely, you have to just keep going for that thing. If it keeps coming to you and you keep feeling a pull towards it, there's a reason for it. And of course, like you said, it's not going to be the easiest way. There's going to be barriers, right? It wasn't just like a walk in the park for you guys to do or put together. You're still promoting it. It's not done yet, right? The work is not done, but you're gonna keep doing it and pushing through all those roadblocks. And that's something, again, we have to just keep doing because, well, here in the US, we just keep getting slammed with shit trying to put us down and take us back, years in history, but we have to keep moving forward, and working together. So it's just so incredible to see you gals come together through the internet, through different spaces, and create this relationship in this amazing film. Was this the first premiere of it that you had in Whistler just this last week?
The film premiered in Vancouver Film Festival the week before, and then Whistler this past weekend. Yes.
Awesome. And where does it go to next?
Next up, we might go on a tour in between Australia and New Zealand. Not physically, but the film will. Um,
Mm.
when that happens, we'll be posting on our Instagrams and promoting the showings. And then we're doing like some festivals between Europe, North America, and EC is gonna handle the premieres in Chile throughout the Chilean winter with July and August.
Amazing. And so when can people listening expect to be able to see the film and watch it if they are not, at one of these premieres?
Unfortunately, it will be a while. It's gonna be probably December or January 2027.
Hopefully next winter is a little wetter for everybody on the West, that's for sure. But I can't wait to see it and promote it where I can for sure. Is there anything else before we get out of here, ladies, that you want to mention about the film, the project, or anything else going on in your lives personally? Any other projects or competitions or anything like that coming up that you want to share with everyone?
Not really. I would say one thing I've learned from the last few years and from knowing these guys is when opportunities come up and they align with what you want and what you want to do, saying yes is the best thing you can possibly do. Like, even I think of with Fabric of 6 years ago, saying yes and being a part of that, or saying yes to little things along the way that led to meeting these guys or doing that project. It builds. And even if it pushes you, like this project in Patagonia pushed me and my limits past anything I've ever done, it showed me it showed me um, that I have what it takes inside to be able to do these things. And, these girls are way above my level in terms of mountaineering and expedition and risk tolerance. And yet we had an incredible time making this film. And when you find people who align with you and you enjoy being with them, it makes all the difference. So taking opportunities to say yes to people who want to do things, or going to a film night, maybe you meet someone there who aligns with you, or and giving yourself grace at the same time. Periods come, and it
physically changes your life. And so allowing yourself to just take a hot tub that day or chill or whatever, it's listening to your body and the universe is huge.
Irie, you hit so many things just there for me.
That's
Like,
that's a lot.
saying yes, it's so huge. Like, as you were talking, I was like, I have the title for this. It's not just saying yes, don't worry, but it really, I was like, I gotta write this down now before I forget. But it's huge. I am, a core part of this audience or age of this audience is in a period of their lives where they may be comfortable and find themselves being a little more anti-social or doing independent things and again, not getting out of their comfort zone really and having an easier time saying no because they're comfortable with, just being in their box. So I think that will speak to a lot of we have to remember to say yes. Again, it's been something for me for really the last couple years. Like I have to say yes more to that invite for the friend to go for that bike ride or that tour or whatever, even if I feel like, because all these other the reasons I want to say no are these reasons that they're not gonna care about. Whether it's like, "Oh, I don't feel like I'm in good enough shape. I'm not gonna be fast enough. I'm not this enough or that enough, blah, blah, blah." When it's like, just say yes, because really the point is to get out there and like I said, be around the people that enjoy being around you and company you enjoy sharing and getting out there and experiencing something together. It's not always just about this objective, right? When just say yes and allow those opportunities to come. And the more we're saying yes, the more those opportunities come about too. So we got to remember that in those times. I've been second guessing myself when my initial reaction is like to say, "Oh no, I'm busy, or I'm not, feeling my best, or this, that, and the other." Is like, wait a second, why? Why? Let's dig a little deeper. Why would I want to say no? Let's just say yes and go from there.
Totally. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you, ladies, so much for joining, telling us about yourselves, your journeys, in the film. We'll be keeping our eye out for sure. I'll link whatever I can in the show notes so people can follow along. Everybody check those show notes to find links, follow them so you can stay up to date on this awesome film. And we will talk to you all next week. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.